You have been leaking your power for your entire life, and you didn't even notice it was happening. Every single time you reacted to a person who didn't deserve your breath, every time you exhausted yourself explaining your truth to people who were committed to misunderstanding you, every moment you wasted your mental energy on the wrong individuals, you handed them a piece of your soul. You gave them a piece of your power, a piece of your peace, and they took it gladly. But today, that cycle ends forever. I am about to show you 7 dark psychology tricks that Machiavelli himself refined over a lifetime of observing the corridors of power. These are lessons that will teach you how to dominate your environment without ever needing to start a confrontation. You will learn how to win without fighting, and how to become completely untouchable simply by choosing when and to whom you reveal your presence. See, most people in this world operate on total autopilot. If someone insults them, they react immediately. If someone questions their motives, they launch into a defensive explanation. If someone tries to drain their energy, they allow it because they don't know how to say no. They think they are being strong by engaging in the struggle. They think they are being smart by defending their reputation, but they are dead wrong. The real power players in this world move differently. They do not react. They do not explain. They do not waste a single second of their lives on people who do not matter to their ultimate vision. They guard their attention as if it were the most valuable currency in the universe, because in the realm of psychology, it is. Think about the figures who truly move the world. Every billionaire, every legendary leader, every person who is truly untouchable, they all share one defining trait. They are selective. They do not respond to every critic. They do not show up at every event. They do not give their energy away for free to anyone who asks. And that is exactly what makes them so magnetic. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago. He saw that power is not about being the loudest person in the room. It is not about proving yourself to every person who doubts your potential. Real power is quiet. Real power is selective. Real power is strategic. I am going to break down 7 psychological laws that will completely transform the way you interact with every human being you meet. You will learn the hidden art of making people obsess over your opinion without you saying a single word. You will discover why silence is a more dangerous weapon than any insult you could ever hurl. You will understand how to withdraw strategically so that people begin to chase you instead of you chasing them. This isn't about being cold for the sake of being mean. This isn't about being cruel. This is about taking back the steering wheel of your own life. This is about operating from a place of absolute sovereignty instead of constant reaction. This is about becoming the kind of person that others simply cannot manipulate, cannot control, and cannot ignore. Now, before we unlock the first gate, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments to signal your intent. I control my power. Number 1. Guard your attention like it is pure gold. Let's start with the most fundamental law of human influence. Your attention is a limited resource. It is a currency. And just like money in a bank account, the moment you start throwing it around carelessly on things that offer no return, you become emotionally and psychologically broke. Here is the secret that the average person will never understand. Every single time you give someone your attention, you are making a high-stakes investment. You are spending your mental energy, your emotional bandwidth, and your most unrecoverable asset, your time. And just like any professional investor, you must constantly ask yourself, what am I getting in return for this investment? Most people never even think to ask that question. They give their attention to anyone who is loud enough to demand it. A hater leaves a nasty comment on their profile, and they spend an hour responding. A toxic family member starts unnecessary drama, and they jump right into the middle of it. Someone disrespects them in a passing remark, and they spend the next 3 hours in their own head crafting the perfect, devastating comeback. And what do they get back for all that effort? Nothing. They get absolutely nothing except for elevated stress, deep frustration, and a massive waste of time that they will never get back. Machiavelli understood a truth that most people still fail to grasp in the modern age. The person who controls where their attention goes is the person who controls their entire reality. Because attention is not just about where you are looking, it is about where your power is flowing. When you give someone your attention, you are giving them permission to influence your emotions, your thoughts, and your vibration. Think about the people in your life who constantly leave you feeling drained. The ones who always have a new crisis. The ones who always need something from you but never offer support. The ones who live to criticize everything you try to build. Now ask yourself honestly, what have they ever given you in return for all the hours of attention you have paid them? Have they helped you grow? Have they made your life easier? Have they added any real, tangible value to your existence? The answer is almost certainly no. But they keep getting your attention anyway. Why? Because you haven't learned the art of being selective. Real power players create a psychological filter. Not everyone gets access to their inner circle. Not everyone gets a response to their messages. Not everyone gets a seat at their table. They ask one simple, ruthless question before giving anyone even a second of their focus. Does this person deserve my awareness? And if the answer is no, they move on instantly. No explanation is given. No justification is offered. No second thought is wasted. This is where the majority of people fail. They feel a sense of obligation. They think they owe everyone their attention. They think they are required to respond to every message, every comment, and every attempt to pull them into a conflict. They fear that ignoring people makes them look rude or weak. But the truth is the exact opposite. Ignoring the unworthy does not make you weak. It makes you a fortress. It shows the world that you value yourself enough to protect your internal environment. It proves that you are not a puppet that dances every time someone pulls a string. Imagine someone sends you a disrespectful, baiting message. Your lizard brain wants to fire back. You want to defend your honor. You want to put them in their place. But what does that actually accomplish? You have just given that person exactly what they were fishing for. You gave them your reaction. You gave them your energy. You validated their existence by showing them that they have the power to move your needle. Now, imagine a different scenario. You read the message, you feel absolutely nothing, and you delete it. Or better yet, you don't even open it. What happens to that person on the other side? They sit there staring at their screen, waiting for the hit of dopamine that comes from your reaction. When it doesn't come, they start to spiral. They wonder why you didn't react. They check to see if you saw it. They might even send a second, more aggressive message just to try and get a rise out of you. And the entire time, you are moving forward with your day, completely unbothered, focused on your own goals. That is the power of guarded attention. You become a psychological fortress that no one can penetrate unless you choose to open the gate. And from this day forward, you only open that gate for people who have proven they are worthy of the entry fee. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My attention is gold. Number 2. Silence is your sharpest and most lethal weapon. Do you know why most people are deathly afraid of silence? It is because they have been conditioned to believe that silence equals surrender. They think if they don't have the last word in an argument, they have lost. They think if they don't defend themselves against a lie, the lie becomes the truth. They believe that if they aren't talking, they aren't being heard. But here is the dark truth that will change the way you look at every conversation for the rest of your life. Silence is the most aggressive, dominating move you can possibly make in a social interaction. Think about the mechanics of a typical conflict. When someone attacks you with words and you come back with more words, you have officially entered their game. You are now playing by their rules, on their court. You have given them exactly what they wanted, a back-and-forth exchange where they feel like an equal participant in your life. You are both now trapped in a cycle of reaction that benefits no one and drains everyone. But when you respond to an attack with total, stony silence, the entire dynamic shifts in an instant. The game stops. The power flows directly to you. Suddenly, The person who was yelling or insulting you is the one who looks foolish. They are talking to avoid. They are getting absolutely nothing back from you, and that lack of feedback creates a massive amount of psychological pressure on them. Machiavelli spent his life watching men destroy their reputations by talking too much. He saw that the men who rose to the highest levels of influence were the ones who understood the strategic value of the unspoken word. Silence communicates something that 1,000 sentences never could. It communicates complete and total indifference. It says, without saying it, "You are not worth my vocabulary. You are not worth my breath. You don't even register as a threat on my radar." And that message destroys a person's ego more effectively than any insult ever could. Let me break down why silence is such a devastating psychological tool. When you respond to someone, even if you are telling them off, you are validating them. You are confirming that what they said was important enough for you to process and react to. You are showing them that they got under your skin. You are showing them that they won a piece of your peace. But when you say nothing, you rob them of that validation. You leave them in a vacuum of uncertainty. They don't know if you're angry, if you're bored, or if you're already planning their downfall. They will never know. And that lack of information will eat at their mind more than any comeback you could have possibly delivered. I have seen people spend weeks obsessing over why someone didn't respond to a single text or a single comment. They replay the entire history of the relationship in their head. They wonder what they did wrong. They create elaborate scenarios to explain the silence. All of that mental energy is being focused on you, while you are doing nothing at all. That is the definition of psychological warfare without firing a single shot. Furthermore, the more you speak, the more ammunition you provide to your enemies. Every word you utter is a piece of information. Every explanation you give is a potential weakness that can be exploited later. Every time you defend your choices, you are revealing what you value and what you are afraid of losing. But silence gives them nothing to work with. They cannot twist your words if you haven't spoken any. They cannot use your emotions against you if you haven't shown any. They are left completely powerless, swinging at a ghost. Now, I am not suggesting that you should never speak again. There are obviously times when your voice needs to be heard and your points need to be made. But those moments should be rare, calculated, and highly strategic. For the vast majority of your daily interactions, especially the negative ones, let your silence do the heavy lifting. Because here is what the world will eventually learn about you. When you finally do choose to speak, it actually matters. Your words will carry the weight of a sledgehammer because you don't waste them on the air. People will lean in to listen because they know you don't talk just to fill the silence. Silence is not weakness. Silence is the ultimate form of self-control. It is a weapon that never misses its target because the target is the other person's own mind. I want you to drop this affirmation. Silence is my power. Number 3, withdraw strategically, but never completely. This is a nuance that most people get entirely wrong when they try to study dark psychology. They think the goal is to go full hermit, to cut off every person they know, and to disappear into the shadows like a ghost. That isn't power. That is just isolation born out of fear. Real power comes from the art of strategic withdrawal. It is about being physically present while remaining emotionally and psychologically untouchable. It is about showing up when it benefits your agenda and pulling back the moment it doesn't. It is about making people feel the weight of your absence even when you are standing right in front of them. Let me explain the psychological difference between disappearing and withdrawing. Complete withdrawal is what happens when you ghost someone forever. Eventually, they stop thinking about you. You become irrelevant to their lives. That isn't influence. That's just an exit. But strategic withdrawal is different. That is when you stay in someone's orbit, but you become completely unpredictable. You are a moving target. Sometimes you are warm and engaged. Sometimes you are cold and distant. Sometimes you are available for a deep conversation. Sometimes you vanish for 3 days without a word. You are there, but they can't quite grab hold of you. And that creates the most dangerous psychological state of all: obsession. Machiavelli understood this principle perfectly. He watched how the most successful princes maintained their grip on the public's imagination. They didn't do it by being visible every single day. They did it by being selective about their appearances. They created scarcity. They understood that anything that is constantly available becomes cheap. Anything that is rare becomes a luxury. By making your presence a rare event, you automatically increase the value of your time in the minds of others. Think about the dynamics of attraction. Imagine someone you find interesting text you every hour of every day. They are always free to hang out. They always reply within seconds. They are constantly checking in on you. How do you feel about them after a week? You probably feel suffocated. You start to lose respect for their time because they clearly don't value it themselves. Their constant presence kills the mystery. It kills the hunt. Now, imagine someone who only texts you occasionally. Sometimes they are quick to respond, but other times they take half a day. Sometimes they have plans and can't see you. You never quite know where you stand with them. What happens to your brain? You think about them constantly. You check your phone, hoping for a notification. You wonder what they are doing and who they are with. That is strategic withdrawal at work. And this doesn't just apply to romance. It applies to your boss, your friends, and your competition. In a professional setting, the person who says yes to every task and is always the first one to volunteer becomes the office workhorse. They are taken for granted. But the person who is selective about their availability, who stays focused on their own high-level projects, and who isn't always reachable, that is the person who gets promoted to leadership. The key is to stay in the game, but never let the game own you. You show up, but only on your own terms. You engage, but only when it serves your long-term interests. This creates a powerful sense of uncertainty in the minds of those around you. They can't predict your next move. They can't assume you will be there to bail them out. They can't take your loyalty for granted. And in the world of human psychology, uncertainty is the father of respect. When you withdraw strategically, people start to chase. They start to wonder what they need to do to keep you interested. Your absence becomes a loud statement. Your unavailability becomes an attractive quality. Your boundaries become your throne. You don't need to leave the world. You just need to make the world work a little harder to keep you in it. Drop this affirmation: I choose my presence. Number 4. The mind-breaking effect of intentional ignoring. Do you want to know what actually happens inside a person's brain when they realize they are being ignored by someone they are trying to impact? It is pure, unadulterated chaos. The human mind is a meaning-making machine. We are biologically hardwired to seek closure and to understand cause and effect. When someone treats us a certain way, our brain immediately begins a high-speed search for the reason why. It is an automatic survival mechanism. So, when you ignore someone completely, when you give them absolutely nothing to work with, their brain begins to short-circuit. Because there is no feedback, there is no closure, there is no clear reason they can latch onto. There is only a void, and the human ego cannot stand a void. That silence becomes an open wound in their mind that refuses to heal. They will burn massive amounts of mental energy trying to solve the puzzle of you. They will invent reasons. They will create entire narratives. They will ask their friends for advice. They will stay up late at night wondering what they did or said to cause your indifference. And while they are doing all of that work, you are doing nothing. You are winning a war of attrition without even being on the battlefield. Machiavelli saw this play out in the political theaters of Italy. He observed that the leaders who felt the need to respond to every critic and every rumor were the ones who were eventually toppled. By responding, they gave their enemies a target to hit. But the leaders who had the discipline to simply ignore their detractors, those leaders watched as their enemies eventually destroyed themselves. The enemies would become so obsessed, so frustrated, and so erratic in their attempts to get a reaction that they would lose their own credibility. Imagine a scenario where a toxic person is trying to start a fight with you. They want you angry. They want you to scream back. They want you to engage in a messy public spat because it makes them feel important. It makes them feel like they have the power to move you. Now, you have two paths. Path 1, you respond. You tell them off. You defend your name. You try to hurt them back. And in doing so, you give them exactly what they crave. You give them a hit of relevance. Even if you win the argument, you have lost the war because you allowed them to dictate how you spent your afternoon. Path 2, you ignore them with the coldness of deep space. You act as if their words were never spoken. You don't even look in their direction. What happens to that person? They are left holding a live grenade of their own making. They have all this pent-up aggression and nowhere to put it. They look desperate. They look unhinged. They check their phone 100 times to see if you've replied. They talk to anyone who will listen, trying to validate their anger. But because you haven't participated, their anger has nowhere to land. It just circles back and eats them from the inside out. When you ignore someone, you are essentially erasing them from your reality. You are stripping them of their humanity in your world. And that is a psychological pain that is far more intense than any insult or physical confrontation. In a fight, at least they are being acknowledged. In an argument, at least they are being seen. But in your silence, they are nothing. They are invisible. They are irrelevant. The best part of this strategy is that it works on everyone. It works on the haters who leave comments on your work. It works on the critics who doubt your vision. It works on the toxic ex who tries to reel you back in. It works on the energy vampires at your job. The second you remove your attention, you remove their power. You don't need revenge. You don't need to have the last word. You don't need to prove that they were wrong. Your total indifference is the ultimate destruction. Your absence is their punishment. Let them wonder. Let them obsess. Let them break their own hearts trying to understand why you don't care. Meanwhile, you keep moving forward as if they never existed in the first place. Drop this affirmation: I erase the unworthy. Number 5. You must erase the unworthy completely and without hesitation. Now, we have to get specific here, because not every person in your life deserves to be treated the same way. In the study of power, you must be able to categorize people quickly and accurately. There are 3 specific types of people that you need to completely erase from your psychological landscape if you want to remain untouchable. Each one requires a different level of ruthlessness. First, you must erase your enemies. I am not talking about people who simply have a different opinion than you. I am talking about the people who are actively plotting against your success. The ones who spread rumors behind your back. The ones who smile to your face while looking for a place to twist the knife. Most people make the amateur mistake of trying to expose these enemies. They want everyone to see the truth. They want a public trial. But Machiavelli would tell you that engaging with an enemy in that way only serves to validate them. It gives them a platform they don't deserve. Instead, you must erase them. Do not fight them. Do not acknowledge their schemes. Simply keep winning. Keep building your life. Keep rising higher. Let your undeniable success be the thing that tortures them. There is no greater revenge than living a magnificent life in front of someone who wanted to see you fail. Second, you must erase the critics. These are the people who have nothing of their own to offer the world. They don't create, they don't build, they don't take risks. They simply sit on the sidelines and try to tear down anyone who is actually in the arena. Here is the secret about critics. They need you infinitely more than you need them. Their entire sense of self-importance is derived from having someone like you to talk about. If you stop providing them with content, they disappear. So, when you react to a critic, you are giving them the oxygen they need to survive. Cut off the air. Ignore the critique. Don't defend your work to someone who couldn't produce it themselves. While they are busy writing their paragraphs of hate, you should be busy writing the next chapter of your success. Success does not argue with critics. Success makes critics irrelevant. Third, and perhaps most importantly, you must erase the energy parasites. These are the people who are often disguised as friends or family. They aren't obvious enemies. They aren't loud critics. They are the ones who slowly, systematically drain your life force. They always have a new problem that only you can fix. They always have a crisis that requires your immediate attention. They are black holes of need. And because you are likely a person of character, you feel the urge to help them. But you must realize that these people do not actually want solutions. They want your energy. They want to pull you down into the mud with them, so they don't have to be alone in their misery. Protecting your energy from these parasites is not a selfish act. It is an act of survival. You cannot build an empire if you are constantly putting out small fires in other people's lives. You cannot lead others if you are emotionally bankrupt. You must set a boundary that is made of iron. You must stop responding to the late-night crisis texts. You must stop offering advice that they never follow anyway. You must erase their access to your mental space. Do not do it dramatically. Do not have a big breakup conversation. Just quietly fade out. Become unavailable. Become uninterested. Treat them as if they are invisible, and watch how quickly your own life begins to flourish once the parasites are gone. Your time is finite. Your energy is your most precious asset. Do not give it to people who do not add to your life. Erase the unworthy and make room for the exceptional. Number 6. Build the armor of absolute indifference. The reason people are able to manipulate you, control you, or drain your spirit is not because they are inherently powerful. It is because you have not yet built your armor. That armor is called indifference. Now, let's be very clear about what indifference actually means in a psychological context. It is not about being a robot. It is not about having no emotions or not caring about your goals. It is about having absolute, total control over what is allowed to affect your internal state. It is about being so deeply rooted in your own self-worth that no external storm can shake your foundations. Most people in society today are emotional hostages. They are walking around with their buttons exposed, waiting for someone to press them. If someone cuts them off in traffic, their whole morning is ruined. If a stranger says something mean on the internet, they are upset for the rest of the day. If a peer questions their intelligence, they are filled with crippling self-doubt. Their emotions are at the total mercy of other people's opinions, actions, and whims. That is not power. That is a form of voluntary slavery. Machiavelli spent decades observing the rise and fall of powerful men. He saw that many of them didn't fall because of a lack of military strength or money. They fell because they were emotionally weak. Their anger made them predictable. Their vanity made them easy to manipulate. Their need to be liked made them easy to control. Their enemies didn't have to be stronger than them. They just had to know which emotional string to pull. The ones who survived, the ones who became legendary, were the ones who built armor so thick that the arrows of public opinion simply bounced off. They were focused on their mission, their vision, and their legacy. They didn't care about the gossip. They didn't care about the disrespect. They didn't care about the noise. They were untouchable not because they didn't feel the hits, but because they refused to let the hits stick. Here is how you begin to forge that armor for yourself. You must start by identifying every single one of your emotional triggers. What makes you angry? What makes you feel the need to defend yourself? What makes you feel small? Those are the holes in your armor. And believe me, the people around you, whether they are conscious of it or not, will poke at those holes every single chance they get. If your trigger is being called lazy, you will find yourself working 20 hours a day just to prove someone wrong. You have just given that person power over your schedule. If your trigger is being misunderstood, you will spend your life writing long emails trying to explain your intentions. You have just given people control over your time. If your trigger is a lack of respect, you will blow up every time someone doesn't treat you like a king. You have just become a predictable puppet. To become untouchable, you must eliminate these triggers. You don't do this by avoiding people. You do it by becoming indifferent to their perspective. Someone calls you lazy? You know the truth of your work ethic, so their opinion is literally meaningless data. No response is required. Someone misrepresents your intentions? Let them. People will always create a version of you that fits their own narrative. You cannot control their mind, so stop trying. Someone is disrespectful? Their behavior is a reflection of their own lack of class, not a reflection of your value. This is the armor of indifference. When nothing external can dictate your internal peace, you become the most powerful person in any room. People will try to test you. They will push your old buttons, expecting the old reactions. And when they get nothing, when they see that their words have zero impact on your demeanor, they will be forced to either respect you or leave you alone. Either way, you have won. Indifference means you choose what you feel and when you feel it. It means your emotions are your servants, not your masters. Number 7. Ascend to greatness through the art of calculated inaction. Most people are under the impression that power is about constant movement. They think it's about how hard you work, how much you shout, how many battles you fight, and how often you prove your worth to the world. They think you have to be in a state of perpetual achievement to be seen as a leader. But Machiavelli understood a higher level of strategy. He knew that sometimes the most devastatingly powerful move you can make is to make no move at all. Calculated inaction is the high art of winning by refusing to participate in the struggle. It is about recognizing that many of the battles people try to pull you into are actually distractions designed to keep you from your true purpose. It is about understanding that some people and some situations will actually destroy themselves if you simply step out of the way and let gravity take its course. It is about having the godlike patience to let the dust settle while you conserve every ounce of your energy for the things that actually matter. Let me give you a real-world example of this in action. Suppose someone is spreading a false rumor about you. The old version of you would panic. You would start making phone calls. You would post a long explanation on social media. You would try to hunt down the source of the lie. You would exhaust yourself fighting a fire that doesn't even deserve your water. The new, untouchable version of you practices calculated inaction. You do absolutely nothing. You don't mention the rumor. You don't defend yourself. You don't even acknowledge that you heard it. Instead, you keep living your life with total integrity. You keep producing high-level results. You keep being the person you are. And what happens? The truth eventually reveals itself. The people who actually matter see that your character doesn't match the rumor. The person who started the lie eventually looks desperate and obsessive because they are the only one talking about it. The rumor dies a natural death, and you didn't waste a single heartbeat on it. That is the power of calculated inaction. This is how you truly ascend. You attract without chasing. You dominate without needing a confrontation. You shift the entire social balance of a room without saying a single word. People become obsessed with you because you are a mystery. They can't figure you out because you don't react the way the rest of the world does. They can't manipulate you because they can't find a handle to grab onto. Your silence becomes legendary in your circle. Your absence becomes a magnetic force that pulls people toward you. Your indifference becomes the thing that people talk about in rooms when you aren't even there. You become the person that everyone wants access to, but very few can reach. While everyone else is burning their lives away on drama, on petty reactions, and on the constant need to prove their worth, you are building a legacy. You are investing your power in your own growth. This is the final lesson of Machiavelli. Power is not taken, it is kept. You keep it by refusing to descend to levels that do not serve you. You keep it by protecting your energy with a ruthless intensity. You keep it by being so selective with your presence that your absence creates a more profound impact than any speech you could ever give. Calculated inaction is not laziness. It is the highest form of psychological wisdom. It is power in its purest, most concentrated form. In this session, You have learned the 7 laws of the untouchable. You have seen the mind-breaking effect of intentional ignoring. You have identified the 3 groups of people who must be erased from your life: the enemies, the critics, and the energy parasites. You have begun to forge the armor of absolute indifference so that no one can ever pull your strings again. And you have mastered the art of calculated inaction, winning the war by refusing to fight the petty battles. These are not just interesting theories. These are the laws of human nature, and if you apply them with a cold, strategic consistency, your entire life will undergo a radical shift. People will begin to treat you with a level of respect you have never experienced. They will stop trying to play games with you because they know the games don't work. They will value your time because they know it is scarce. They will fear your silence because they know it means they have been weighed, measured, and found wanting. But I must warn you, this only works if you commit to it fully. You cannot be untouchable on Mondays and a reactive mess on Tuesdays. You must change your fundamental behavior starting right now. The very next time someone tries to bait you into an argument, do not respond. The very next time someone demands an explanation for your personal choices, remain silent. The next time you feel the urge to prove yourself to someone who doesn't matter, stop. From this second forward, you are a different person. You are the master of your own power. You are a fortress of indifference. You are a silent operator who wins through strategy rather than noise. This is the ruthless art that has been used by the most powerful figures in history, and now it is in your hands. Use it wisely. Use it ruthlessly. Before we finish, I have one final question for you. Are you truly ready to stop giving your power away to people who don't deserve it? Are you ready to become the most untouchable, dominant version of yourself? If your answer is an absolute yes, then I want you to prove it to yourself right now. Drop the phrase, "I am untouchable," in the comments. Let it be the first act of your new life. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications because we are going deeper into the shadows of human psychology than anyone else dares to go. Your journey to absolute power has only just begun. You are untouchable now.